Awesome. I forgot to model or to mute everybody though. Hang on. There. Excellent. So welcome to the, I guess, second installment of Get Over Your Damn Self. We covered the first two chapters last week and had awesome turnout and lots of really great conversation during the Zoom and afterwards. So if you haven't bought this book yet, I really would strongly encourage you to go out and grab it, because we do dive pretty deep, but at the same time, like, I've read the chapters multiple times myself that I've done so far. I actually haven't finished the book once yet because I keep revisiting the same chapters over and over because they speak to me so strongly. So my recommendation would be everybody go get this book, whether you get the audio, which is, I don't even have a hard copy of this book, I'll be honest. I have it on Audacity, or whatever way you might listen to books would be amazing. But yeah, so this week, Krista's going to share with us what her takeaways were from the next two chapters. I'm just going to hand it right over to you, Krista.
And I have it on Audible today. And if you guys, some of you aren't readers. I'm not a reader. My brain just kind of starts to kind of float around. But when I'm listening to it Audible, it's just, I can do things while I'm listening. But then when I was doing the training for tonight, I was listening to it, but then I was reading with it along the same time. So it just imprints on your brain. It's amazing for it to be on Audible too, especially when you're trying to get a lot of things in one day, all in one time frame. So it's really good. So chapter 3, we'll just dive right in because I know your time is valuable. Your list is your life. Make it a long one. So we all have our different systems of how we create our lists. A lot of times when we were brought into the business, we're told, make a list of 100 people. And that seems really daunting for some people. They think, I don't even know 100 people. But I bet if you were, say, for example, planning a wedding, you could come up with probably 250 names, and you'd have to start scratching people's off. You know, how many of us have done that, where we've had to take people off our list of different events that we're doing because we just don't have the room or the accommodations for those people. So that means that we all know people in amongst our network. We think we don't know a lot of people, but once you start making a list, those names will start coming to you. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. And but your list, I want to talk about the list a little bit first, though, because your list is kind of like a bank account. When you take a withdrawal from your bank account, it's always good to put money back in to keep that bank account flush and to really keep it boosted up. So your list is a growing thing that you might have maybe 25, 50, 100 names on your list today, but tomorrow you might go out and meet somebody new, so you add them to your list. Very few people do not make it onto my list. I am a name collector. It doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I'm always collecting names. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm not there just to totally sit back and just block everybody out of my surroundings. I'm still making connections, making friends, because it really is all about relationship building. I'm not going with the intent of who's going to join my business when I'm on vacation. I'm there with the intent of thinking, I'm at this resort. People are coming from all over the place. I can get somebody in different areas. So it's up to me to make that relationship very effective when I'm on my vacation. You know, from the first introduction till sitting around the pool to, you know, hanging out maybe at the lounge in the evening. You want people to feel like they're special in your life and that you are their friend first. In fact, when I was to Cuba just recently, I just want to put this out there too, that Cuba is a great place to go to because it's full of Canadians. So it was really easy to meet people from Canada, which was wonderful. And but I never spoke about my Plexus business when I was there. I would say that I did Plexus and that's what my job is, but then I would never elaborate on that. I really didn't want to talk about my business. But I made those connections. So I have 3 friends that I made friendships with in Cuba that I talk to like all the time. I just reached out to one again today. She's in Montreal. And so that relationship is built just by hanging out and having fun, and that trust is built through that too. So always be mindful of where you're at so you can keep your list growing every single day. Another thing you can do too is if you're having a hard time coming up with names to put on your list, think of the alphabet from A to Z, and then write down how many people do you know with the letter A. So there's Andrew, Alan, Amber, there's all kinds of A names that you can think of. It's a great way to jog your memory. In the back files of our Freedom Revolution, there is a file called the Memory Jogger, and it's put out by Eric Worre. And it's just a memory jogger of how you can come up with names of people you know that you just kind of forget about. Who did you know in elementary school? Who did you know in junior high? Who in high school? You might not be in touch with them now. Your relationship maybe has kind of taken, a back seat over the years. But you can reestablish those relationships. Doesn't mean that you have to have like best buddy relationships. They're just people that you know. And then also friends of friends. How many times do you go to maybe a wedding shower or a baby shower or some event where there's a lot of different people in the room? How many of your friends do you have that attend that meeting that are not actually your friend? They're a friend through a friend. So always be looking at widening your network, widening your circle. And it really is just about keeping your ear to the ground about different people, their needs, and also turning the subject back to them and not all about you. The less you talk, the more questions you ask, the more you're going to get to know somebody. And the great thing I love about network marketing is that we can actually choose who we want to be on our team. I don't take just anybody on my team because I want to work with people who I enjoy being with. So, if I see somebody that they're really fun and they're, just great to hang around with, I'll sometimes say, hey, you're very cool and I'd love to have you on my team because I think we'd have a lot of fun together. And so it's just, that's the great thing that we get to do with this business is to bring people in that we actually like to be around. It's not like being at a regular job where you have to be with people that sometimes you get along with them, sometimes you don't. In network marketing, you can actually be a little bit more selective in that area. So it's great that way. We all have different systems too of how to keep our lists organized, and that's one thing that I know a lot of people kind of struggle with is because you have this list of people. How do you keep it organized? I know Tanya is very detailed in how she does hers. She does hers on Excel, and she has a whole format system and codes and things of how to look people up. And I'm old school. I have a Hilroy scribbler. So whatever works for you, find your system and stick with it. I don't suggest you always change your system just because you hear of a new one. Find one that works for you and stick with it. So for me, a Hilroy scribbler is easy. I'm kind of like fly by the seat of my pants all the time. It's easy for me to, write their name in. I'll comb through my list all the time. I'm always looking through it. In fact, it's dog-eared. It's kind of half tattered, and but it's easy for me to do that with. And I love when I can actually cross off a name, and it's surprising how many names get crossed off and you get to see the progress of that. So I just absolutely love that about having my little Hilroy scribbler. Another thing I do too is I used to do this and it worked very well, but it was a little bit too systematic for me because again, I fly by the seat of my pants, but there is where you can do tabs 1 to 31, which is the days of the month. And you can put your people into each tab, depending on what day you're talking to them. You can move the sheets around so that you know that if you have to follow up them a week from today, you move it, a week ahead. There's that system too. That's a video. If anybody wants to look at that, I created a video for our team page. And but whatever system you come up with, there's no right or wrong system. It's your system, and make it work for you. And just keep updating it, and always be finding those people that you can add to it. Another thing that I thought too is a great way of trying to remember names is, I guess I kind of alluded to it already, but the A to Z, but then also there's a list, get into action, which it kind of goes along with the memory jogger too that's in the back office files of just kind of jogging your memory of who you know in kind of different categories. So community leaders, movers and shakers, church people, friends of friends, spouses, boyfriends network, past and present colleagues, and the list goes on and on and on. So as you're going through that list, think of like maybe 4 names for each category. Who do you know at church? 4 people. And write their name down for each category. So it's another way to jog your memory about how many people you do actually know. Then there's the famous chicken list. And it is always so exciting when people get somebody off their chicken list, and it's just like, I got somebody from my chicken list, and it's exciting because they scared you, and that's why they're on your chicken list. It's somebody that intimidates you, somebody you think does not need this business, but we do not prejudge, so we put everybody on our list. And so the chicken list are usually those people who super intimidate you. And I have quite a few on my chicken list that I will admit, I am scared to reach out to them. There's one girl, and I'm going to reach out to her this week. I'm going to make myself do it. And it's because she liked a post of mine that was about plexus. First time she's ever liked my post about anything, and it happened to be a plexus post. So I thought, okay, it's time I suck it up, pull up my big girl panties, and reach out to her, because why should I be intimidated by her? I have an amazing company. I have an amazing product, and I know that she would be the bomb at this. So I have to suck up my pride and do it. Anyway, so reach out to your chicken list people. There's been many chicken list people that have joined our team and other teams and have done very, very well. So don't be intimidated by that. Let's see, what else did I have down? I think that's about it for the list thing. I'm just going over my notes a little bit. Oh, some great openers too was, have friendly conversations with people. If you go up to somebody and, you're really friendly with them and they're kind of standoffish and not really open to you, they're probably not going to be great on your team. You want somebody who, is friendly, open, happy to meet new people, that sort of thing. So kind of be watching people's body language when you're talking to them. And then there's always some great way of meeting people is, if you meet somebody brand new and you say, are you from around here? They usually will say, oh, no, I'm actually from St. John, for example. And you can say, oh, that's awesome, because I'm actually growing a team in St. John. I would love to pick your brain about that and see if there's anybody you know in St. John that I could reach out to. Can we exchange contact information? The quicker you can get somebody's contact information, the better. Everything relies on contacts. So you have to make that, offer. You have to ask for the contact information. If you don't ask for it, the conversation could just die out. They can go on their way. You never would remember who they were. So, and then once you have the contact information, usually I'll reach out to them. Hey, remember I met you the other day and I was growing a team in St. John. I'd love to talk to you about this. Can I actually give you a call and get them on the phone? Because the more you can get somebody right in front of you, hear your voice, talk to them on the phone, make that friendly relationship, the better success you're going to have at actually having them wanting to take more of a look. Because if you're just exchanging messages back and forth, it just seems to go on forever. Get on the phone and make it really quick and easy. Another thing too is another way to meet new people is if you see somebody that needs some help on, say for example on Facebook, if you saw somebody say, hey, I'm looking for a new hairdresser. You could private message them and say, hey, I've got this hairdresser. She's amazing. Here's her contact information. And then after that, start, because you already opened a door to have some conversation with them, and it was, over a very generic issue, you can then, continue that relationship up with hey, I've been meaning to actually reach out to you. What's up with you? What's going on new with you? And how's life? And start that relationship going again. That's a great way to have an opener for somebody that you haven't been talking to for a while. So it's always just keeping your skills sharp in those areas. Always be mindful that you are looking to make new friends, new relationships. If you're the type of person that, and I don't think anybody on this panel is like this, or you wouldn't be on this team training tonight, but if you're the type of person that just does not want to reach out to people, or if you have a team member that just does not want to reach out to people, there's a way that you can teach people to reach out to other people and be more open and more friendly. They're going to take a little bit more cultivating to find out why they're intimidated to reach out to people. But I believe everybody can build this business. It just takes time to learn how to do these skills, and even the verbiage, and even your own body language. Like, for example, when I'm talking to people, I'm actually very shy. So I know that a lot of people find that not true, but I actually am quite shy. I'd rather be the quiet one in the room and just observe people. But what I've learned is that I've learned how to relax my body when I'm talking to people so that it doesn't look like I'm frantically wanting the sale or frantically wanting them to join my team. In fact, a lot of times I'll even say, I'm not sure if this is for you, but, I have this. Can I offer you some more information? But it might not be for you. That's totally cool too. My only objective is to get information in front of them, because if I remove myself from the outcome of what they're going to do with that information, then it really frees me up to be more relaxed in how I present. So you have to learn to remove yourself from the outcome. My only objective is to get information in front of them. Their objective is to take a look at it, see if it's for them. If it's not, of course, then you have to do some follow-up along the way too. But try to relax in your conversation with people. So that would kind of go into the next chapter, which is chapter 4. And it is, what's your story? A lot of times people get what's your story mixed up with what's your why. So when you introduce yourself to people, you almost kind of want to tell your why you're doing Plexus, when your story and your why are completely different. As Tanya and Julie spoke about the why last week, your why is a deep-seated inner thing that keeps you going. It's what makes you get up in the morning and do this when you're dog tired. It makes you do this when, you've got an event and you still have to get back to some people because they're messaging you and you're tired. You really don't want to deal with people that night, but you do it anyways because your why is so deep and you're committed to your why. But your story is just a little bit more about, it's more about telling different points in your why you're doing this, but not your why, if that makes sense. I have my notes. I got to get my notebook here so I can tell you part of mine. Sorry. So there's a way to get to your story that is kind of like a formula. And it basically is these questions. And I'll have these in the question and answer at the end in our on our team page. So the formula for the elements of your story goes, who are you? And where have you been? Number 2 is, what's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more? How have you heard about the company, and why did you have to be part of it? And number 4 is, what is it doing for you or going to do for you? So basically what you want to do is tell a compelling story. You want to reveal some of yourself to people, but you don't want to give them all the information. You don't want to vomit your whole reason for being in Plexus. You just want to give them highlights to kind of draw people to you and make them more interested in you. So say, for example, mine was, who are you and where have you been? So I wrote down, I was stuck in life as my kids were becoming more independent. I needed a jump start to energize me. I felt I had more to give. So that's who you are and where you've been. And then number 2, what's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more? As I was transitioning into being a single woman, I needed financial freedom, but I also wanted time freedom too. Number 3 was, how have you heard about your company and why you had to be part of it? My friend Sherry introduced me to Plexus. I love the business aspect and saw great possibilities. It had to be flexible and make enough money for me to feel secure. And then, what's it doing for you or going to do for you? I'm excited about the future with Plexus and my team. My lifestyle now is about freedom, and I love sharing this with as many people so they too have options. So as you can see, I've broken it into different categories that at first, the person I'm talking to, they're going to see that, I'm in my mid-40s, well, getting closer to 50 actually, closer to 50 than mid, and I was stuck in life. I was kind of feeling like, I have more to give than what I'm doing right now. And then the second part was, I told them that I was transitioning into being single. I didn't go into, oh my goodness, my life was a wreck, and, I had this problem in my marriage. And so I didn't go into all the nitty-gritty details. They didn't need to know that. They just needed to know the highlights that, oh yeah, I kind of feel stuck too. Or yeah, I'm single now too. Like I can relate to her. So there's different things that people can pull out of this. And then, my friend introduced me. I'm a friend introducing to them. I saw great possibilities, but I didn't tell her what the possibilities were. I just said I saw great possibilities of financial freedom and time freedom. So it kind of piques the interest a little bit. You can go into more detail as the conversation continues, but you need to allow them to ask questions in order for that story to continue. If you give them all the answers up front, they're not going to have any need to ask you any questions to find out more details. But also for my personality, what I find is when people talk too much, after a while, my squirrel brain just starts to kind of wane a little bit. I'm very squirrel brained. So, if you're telling me a story and it goes over 5 minutes, you've lost me probably at 4.5 minutes because it's just too much information for me to take in. So, learn how to do that within 45 seconds. Like actually break that formula down and write your story out, rehearse it, go over it, share it with your upline, share it with your spouse, your girlfriend, somebody who really knows you. Sometimes people will kind of create their story and it's kind of just a little flat because it hits on just too many like mediocre points, I kind of call them. Whereas, I was in corporate America, tired of my job, found this opportunity. I wanted financial freedom. So that's kind of a story that anybody could tell. Really make it your own story and draw people into you. And this exercise is actually good for me too, because I've always told the same story for 4 years. And my story, I didn't allow it to evolve into being like a little bit more vulnerable. And sometimes I was even adding stuff that I really did not need to say. And so this exercise is great for me to kind of look at my story again. So, I can change that up a little bit, make it a little bit more curiosity type things in it, where they can then ask me questions. So I actually used this formula today. I had my neighbor across the hall. I live in an apartment and I have 2 people in my pod of 6 that are now ambassadors. So there's 3 out of the 6 of us that are now ambassadors. So my goal is to have the whole pod ambassadors. So that's kind of fun. We can just go across the hall to do trainings. That's really neat. Anyway, so I used this today. And when I first went to meet her, she was just going to buy the product as a customer. And so then I just started to share this story. And you could just see like a light bulb kind of open up on her, where she was just kind of like, she was taken in by it, right? Because I gave her some vulnerability things about myself that she probably didn't know, because I really hadn't sat with this lady before. And so she probably really didn't know where I had come from or where I was going, or really what the company, had for possibilities. So I could just see her wheels changing. And so by the end of it, she ended up joining. So it's always great to see that happen. So, make sure you leave certain things out. We're all attached to our story. So sometimes, we really like our stories and sometimes like the drama, some of the things in our story, because it's part of our life. So we want to tell things about it, but sometimes you don't need to tell everything. Leave some things out. One thing that I really liked in this book is that she was saying a lot of people will lead out with the product. And I've always led out with the business. I love our business. I love our products, but I love our business too. If you can do the business, then you're going to buy the product. The products work for the masses, so I don't have to convince people that the products work. They work. It's the business aspect that I like to put out first, because people need the income. I don't care what level of where you are in life, everybody always needs a couple extra $100, and nobody's ever going to turn it down. So I always like to lead out with the business, and that's always worked very well for me. One thing she did say in here that I found was really great, though, was waiting for your personal testimonial. And this is something I would like to see us training a little bit differently on our team going forward into being in Canada, is that don't always wait for your personal testimony to get started. And when you're signing people up, word it in a way that you want to get their investment back, which is showing them how to go silver essentially. And so if you make that part of your conversation, then that's what they're going to do. So everything that you tell your new person, that's what they're going to do with their new person, right? So it takes a while to kind of turn that ship around, but eventually that ship will turn around where we are leading with the opportunity and the product second. And that's where you'll get the bigger business growth, because then people are not, if they're coming in for the product, right off the get-go, they're going to wait for their story. The story usually starts to take about, a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months before they're actually going to get started. And then when they go out to teach people, they're going to teach that same thing. So it's almost like you're delaying the growth of the business for, essentially 3 to 6 months, really, by the time you get everybody going. So lead out with the opportunity, and then follow with the personal product story. Now, this is one thing where I liked what she said, was that, let me find my note here that I wrote it down. Oh yeah, if you include your personal product testimonial within your story, meaning that, I had, I got over my plantar fasciitis, I ended up losing 30 pounds, my skin is cleared up. When you lead out with that as part of your story, then what happens is you're actually suggesting to them, even though you're not saying it, you're suggesting to them that, I have to have a product story too before I can start sharing with people. So it's almost kind of like you're subliminally putting that into their mind. And then that way, that's what they're going to do. They're going to have to wait for their product story before they start sharing it. So that's why it's easier to lead out with the business. Let me see. Another thing that was really great too is she talked about, your personal business successes. So maybe, for my own story, I could say I went silver in my first month. That allowed me to to get back my investment, which is going silver, $175 US. And then you can as your story continues, you can start adding layers onto that, to now where I'm, I say, now I'm growing a team, of 3,000, 3,500 people. I see all these great things happening with them. They're having financial freedom. I love teaching my team this, and just adding in, now I have, my Lexus car, and I can go on trips, and I have financial freedom. And, that I'm adding layers on. So that's one way that you can kind of show the income without actually stating, what you're making for income too, which is against compliance. Allow your story to evolve. Power lies in the truth of your story. So don't ever overstimulate your story, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's left my brain.
Exaggerate.
That's right. Yeah, don't exaggerate your story. She has a more colorful term because she's pretty straight up. She says, don't be saying any BS in your story. If it's not the truth, don't say it. Don't over embellish. Just state the truth, and state the truth of the company. If you feel you need to over embellish, then you need to go back and look at your story and see how you can make it more compelling to other people, as it's being heard by other people. And if you feel you have to, over embellish the company, then, possibly it's not the right company for you, because we don't need to over embellish Plexus. They're so authentic and real that I think the whole company just speaks well for itself without over embellishing it. And it's a bad practice to get into too, if you over embellish what you're making when you're bringing people in, because then they're thinking that that's what they should have too. So I'm very honest about how I run my business. Adapt your story for your audience is a great thing too. Like if you're somebody you're a stay-at-home mom, and you're speaking to somebody who has no children, never intends to have any children, your stay-at-home mom story is not going to resonate with them. So you have to learn how to adapt it. You can say, I'm a mom, And that way they know you're a busy person, you're a mom. You don't need to focus so much on being a stay-at-home mom and how it allows you to stay at home to be with your children. You kind of have to want to, look at what their interests are. And for example, say if you're at a pool, for example, and somebody's in the lounge chair next to you and they say, this is my first trip in 5 years. And, I'm just really thankful to be on this trip. You can say, oh, I have something that might provide you with a little bit of travel freedom. Like, would you be willing to take an opportunity to look at that? And, that, therefore, you're not talking about something that's geared towards your story. You're turning it around for them. So always keep your ears over what people are saying to you about their life. And then build your story library, which our Diamond documentaries are great for that. I think there's a file. I was going to go back and look in Freedom Revolution. I thought I had put a file back there of the Diamond documentaries that actually list it by like teacher, nurse, that sort of thing. And I send Diamond documentaries out all the time to people that resonate with that person. So, if there's a girl that, for example, I have a girl that Michaela's prospecting right now. She's very crunchy granola. She even looks like the girl that in the Diamond documentary. And so I said, I'll send that Diamond documentary because she reminds me exactly of you. Like, I can't believe how much you guys are alike. And so I sent that to her because that was geared for her. And it's a great way to tell a story. I remember there was one ambassador too. She was a nurse. And when I sent her the Diamond documentary about a nurse, that was what resonated with her because she saw herself in that Diamond documentary. So they work really well. And then what is your product story? Eventually you are going to have a product story, but don't reveal it too soon. When you're new and haven't used the products yet, be honest. Okay, this is a really good point actually. So say you're brand new and somebody joins your team, or you're talking to somebody for them to join your team. You be honest with them and say, hey, look, I just started. Like, I don't even have my kit yet or anything. All I know is this team is like rocking. They're all excited. And I haven't got my product yet, but I want you to join me for the opportunity and let's get our product together and, do this together. So don't worry because you don't have your product before you share. We have an opportunity that's just waiting for people. And you don't have to have your product yet to start sharing. I really encourage people to share immediately. The faster you share the opportunity, the quicker you're going to get that business growing. And then I like the very last paragraph that she had. Facts tell, but stories sell. So we are always drawn in by stories. You remember as a child, like what did we all do before we went to bed? Our parents, a lot of them read us stories before bed. Sitting around campfires, we always listened to stories. Hunting stories and stories about the good old days. And, it draws people in, it draws people closer to you. And, I always think of my kids because I remember when we would have company over, they always used to sit around our table. They wouldn't say a whole lot, but they'd be sitting there listening to the adults tell stories and just laughing about, that connection they had with story time. That was just such a big part of our family life. And so the sooner you become good at crafting, editing, and collecting stories, the better you'll be at the gig. If you're consistently feeding yourself with stories about your company and your products, you're positively impacting people. You'll increase your belief and be able to inspire others. So we are storytellers. Like that's something that, is a skill to learn. There's all kinds of great YouTubes out there. Kendra Hall is a really good one. She's actually on the Rank Up Roadmap and the one for silver. And she tells a really great way to tell a story. And it's really just about drawing people to you and building that relationship through being authentic and real and also passionate. So that's the end of my story.
Thank you, Krista.
You're welcome.
That's great. I wonder if we want to open it up for a second. It's 9:05, so we have a few minutes if we want to open it up to questions. And if you're new, this is a great forum to ask questions, or even if you want to type them into the chat, and we can answer them that way if you don't feel like speaking out. But it is a very safe zone. Mm-hmm. So if you're...
Sure. I was just going to say one thing too is that, if you don't have a story, get with your upline and kind of draft one out.
Mm-hmm.
Pick it apart. You might not even know where to begin with your story, but that format that I had spoken about, the 4 key points, is really a great place to start off to help you to get that started, but then share it with other people, speak it with other people, and get used to saying it. You will say the same story. I mean, I've been telling that same story for 4 years, and I just now switched it. But it literally, if somebody, like say Tanya has been with me a lot on different meetings and that, she can probably attest that my story is usually always exactly the same. And that's good. It's repetitive to you, but to the people who are new and wanting to hear your story, it doesn't sound that way to them, even though to you it sounds like it rolls off your tongue, but it should roll off your tongue.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. So if anyone has any questions or any comments or statements, whatever they might like to make, and again, you can pop them in the chat if you want to. Well, maybe as people are either gathering courage or thinking about what they might like to ask, tomorrow night on my team, we're going to do a power half hour on list building. And it's kind of on the heels of this training, but I'd like to open it up to everybody. So if you want to come, it doesn't matter where you are in your business. If you've been at this for a while, you might be silver, you might even be gold, and it's time to rebuild your list. Or maybe you've gotten by with no list, and if that's the case, no judgment. Why don't you come out tomorrow night? And it'll be at 8:30. That's our standard time, just because it's easy to remember that way. And I'll pop a little invite on Freedom Revolution if anybody wants to come. We've got some newbies on our team that really would like to take advantage of that, and the more the merrier. So when I say power half hour, it just means it will take a half an hour. We'll just review the main points on the categories, and then we'll talk a little bit about maybe like more sort of subdivisions within those categories to jog your brain, and we'll go with that.
Tanya.
Awesome. Yes.
I actually had something to say. What Krista said tonight is that she said, and I feel exactly the same way. Like I'm like a very shy person, and I kind of sit back and kind of observe everybody else. So anyway, I actually went out today because I find it so hard to try to talk to people. Like I really do. And trying to step out and do that. Well, today I'm so proud of myself because I went out today. This lady that I work for, I find her very intimidating. Like she's my boss. And I went today to talk to her about Plexus because I told her about Plexus before. And it was my day off, so I said, I'm going to do it. And I'm thankful because I talked to Denise today, this morning about it. And she said, just do it. Just step out and do it. And I did. And oh my gosh, what an awesome feeling it was. It was amazing. Like I feel, I don't know, I just feel I know I can do this now. I can do it. Like if I know I can conquer her, I can conquer anybody.
Wow.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so.
That's awesome, Michelle. You can tell by your face. You're like power. But that's confidence, right? Like
yeah,
gain confidence by working through your fear.
And I've been reaching out to like a few more people again after that, and I thought, wow, just that one thing, just release something, and I'm just like going. And I thought that's amazing.
Awesome.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thanks.
The momentum and speed you're going to get from that is huge.
Oh,
I'd like to share, Tanya, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Oh, Suzette,
yeah, my camera is off because I'm here, my glasses, no hair done, no makeup, and not presentable. So, so you're just going to hear me tonight. I just want to say that Krista recommended this book to me, and I am loving it. I'm loving it. I'm taking the book very seriously, and I'm reading it slowly. Because you know how sometimes we take a book and we just read it and we don't really think about it and we're not really applying. Well, I'm taking this book and it's a very easy read, so it's easy to just read it, but I'm not doing that. I'm taking it and I'm taking it very seriously. I'm doing my homework. You know, I've actually taken and peeled back my why. It was very liberating for me to do that. So I'm suggesting this book to all my team members right now, because I mean, I've been doing this for 2.5 years and I am learning so much from just the first 4 chapters of this book already. So I just want to encourage everybody to get this book, get into this book, because if you take it seriously and you want to grow your business, this is a great place for you to start, because it's going to teach you a lot and you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And that's probably the most important thing, is for us to really learn about ourselves and what needs to be fixed in us before we can move forward. So yeah, that's my little spiel.
Thanks, Suzette. Thank you.
It's a great idea too, that when somebody joins your team and you see value in them, to give them the book as a gift, because you know, I think they're $13 on Amazon. They're tax write-off, so you can write it off on your taxes. And it's a great gift to send somebody, you know, just to say, thank you for joining my team. Here's a great book that I love. And, you know, with thank you card, and nobody gets mail nowadays, so it's great to pop it into the mail. And I think it goes regular postage too, because it fits through the little slot at the post office. So it's a great little gift to give somebody.
I think Bobby had her hand up as well.
Yes, I did. I posted the question earlier. I know myself, I'm the type of person that this kind of training does so much for me, but it's a lot to take in at one time. And I know that this is recorded, and I know everyone else knows that. But for our newbies, as well as people like me who can use the review, where can we find the replays?
Well, because I'm hosting the meetings, what I do is I convert them to my computer and then I upload them to my YouTube channel. But I post them every week in Freedom Revolutions, and it's usually the very night of training. But sometimes it's the next day. So if you think about the keywords from the training, then you'll be able to find, like, so if you think get over your damn self or GOIDS, GOYDS, maybe I'll hashtag that this time, and then I'll go back and edit the other ones and hashtag them so you can find all the GOIDS trainings. This is only the second one, Bobby. Yeah, so I always post them on Freedom Revolution, and you can also find them on my YouTube channel.
Thank you. I haven't received my book yet, but it's coming.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to jump on here for a minute. I'm just reading Tammy's message about being, feeling like she's bothering people and being afraid to share. One of the things that holds me back, I love to meet new people. I love that interaction of meeting somebody new. But then when I start getting close to somebody, I get tongue-tied and I start closing myself off. And I'm trying to get over that hurdle. And I don't know, I guess I don't know how to do that. So that's where I get uncomfortable and kind of stuck. So.
Mm-hmm.
What about, Nancy, if you, instead of focusing, on you saying something to them, just ask questions of them so you can get to know them. And people love to talk about themselves, and, they're more comfortable talking about themselves than really they are, talking about something else. Like, I can kind of attest to this, that when I'm kind of pinpointed to talk about a certain topic that it was kind of like thrown at me, like, hey, like, I can't think of something right off the bat, but when you're talking about yourself, you know yourself, right? So just ask people questions to get to them and make that an easy relationship. And then after you get comfortable with people, like you're more friends with them, then focus on the plexus after that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is if you're having conversations with people, I'm talking about people that see your social media or they know what you're up to, then, if you are carrying on with them, they're going to know what you're up to, and chances are they're going to circle back around to you as well. Sean just said to me, everyone's so polite.
Yeah.
And Nancy and Tammy, I put the video on our team page for cold messaging. So I'll tag you guys in that.
Awesome. Great. Well, listen, thank you everybody for showing up, because those who show up go up. And I think this training is just getting better all the time. Our mass team training, it just seems to be, we have different guest speakers and different topics, but we're going to definitely stay on this book for a while and be presenting on the different chapters. And again, run out and grab that book because it's awesome. And it just takes a few days to get your way, and it's not very expensive. So,
how many chapters are there, Tanya?
There are chapters. You stumped me, Neela.
Sorry.
There's 18.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, and they're really quick and so engaging that you wish there was more at the end. So,
well, it is. It's a really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Krista, for speaking, and thanks everybody for coming out. And have a great night, guys.
See you later, everybody.
Hey, bye.